goal! What an incredible strike! Ha ha ha! We've done it! I can't watch this.
The question is not why some people don't care about sports. The question is why so many people need to so desperately. Because sports fandom, at the psychological level, is not really about sports. It is about something far more fundamental, something that every human being needs, and that most people are getting through games, while others are getting it elsewhere. And the moment you understand what that something actually is, you will never see sports culture the same way again. And you will understand something precise and important about your own psychology that nobody in that culture will ever tell you. Erich Fromm spent decades studying why people surrender individual identity to collective structures. His most important observation, from a work called Escape from Freedom, was this: individual freedom is psychologically heavier than most people can carry indefinitely. When you are fully responsible for your own identity, your own meaning, your own sense of worth in the world, the weight of that responsibility is enormous. And the human psyche, across every culture and every era of recorded history, has found ways to temporarily lay that weight down, to submerge individual identity into something larger, to borrow a sense of purpose and belonging from a collective that does not require you to have earned it. Religion, nationalism, political tribes, and, in modern secular life, more commonly than almost anything else, sports. When you become a genuine fan of a team, something very specific happens psychologically. You stop being just yourself, an individual with uncertain worth and unclear standing, and you become part of something. The team wins, and you win, even though you were sitting in a chair across the city. The team loses, and you grieve alongside thousands of others who feel the same loss at the same moment. Jung described the mechanism precisely. The collective persona, the identity borrowed from a group, provides the ego with something it desperately wants and cannot build alone: unconditional belonging. There are no qualifications required to be a fan. You do not have to be talented, successful, or exceptional. You only have to declare allegiance. And, in exchange, you receive a tribe, a shared history, a shared enemy, shared moments of triumph and grief that connect individual experience to something collectively meaningful. This is not a weakness. This is the fulfillment of one of the most fundamental human needs. The person who does not need sports is not lacking passion. They are getting these fundamental needs met through different channels, or, and this is the more dangerous possibility, they are not getting them met at all and have not yet realized it. Here is the distinction that changes everything. The mind that doesn't respond to sports typically routes its identity and meaning-making through more individual channels: ideas, creative work, philosophy, the understanding of systems and human behavior, the pursuit of something that doesn't have a stadium around it and doesn't provide the immediate emotional reward of collective triumph. This is psychologically more demanding, not less. It requires building an identity from within rather than borrowing one from a team. It requires finding belonging in smaller, more specific, more deliberately chosen groups, rather than the mass belonging that sports provides almost instantly. And it requires managing the emotional dimension of meaning-making without the container that sports provides, the clear beginning, middle, and end the shared emotional experience with thousands of others processing identical feelings at the same moment. What sports gives people emotionally is something modern life has almost entirely eliminated everywhere else: collective emotional experience. A shared moment of genuine feeling that connects you to other human beings in real time, at full intensity, without apology. The person who doesn't need sports has either found this elsewhere, in music, in community, in work that generates genuine shared meaning, or they are living without it. And living without genuine collective emotional experience is one of the more quietly devastating conditions of modern life, because it is so rarely named as what it actually is. Jung was careful about this. He distinguished between individuality, the genuine development of the self through inner work, and mere isolation, the failure to ever connect with collective human experience at all. The goal of individuation was never to become entirely independent of collective belonging. It was to choose your collectives deliberately, rather than inheriting them by default. The person who doesn't watch sports is not automatically more psychologically developed than the person who does. They have simply not found their tribe in the place where most people find theirs. And that creates a specific, real, accumulating social cost that deserves to be named directly. You have been in rooms where the conversation moved entirely into territory you could not follow, where the shared language was scores, seasons, transfers, and historical games you never watched. And the experience of standing slightly outside the collective warmth of a conversation that included everyone else, small, normalized, never quite acknowledged, is not trivial. It accumulates. And for some people, across decades of accumulated moments of standing slightly outside the room everyone else is in, it becomes a specific kind of loneliness that is very hard to name because the culture provides no language for it. Understanding why the cost is real does not mean you have to keep paying it without intention. Here is exactly what to do with this. 5 practices beginning tonight. The first, tonight, identify your actual sources of collective belonging, not the ones you think you should have, the ones that genuinely make you feel part of something larger than yourself. If you cannot name at least 2, that is more urgent information than anything this video has said so far. The need for tribal belonging is real. It will find expression somewhere, deliberately, or in ways you will not choose consciously. The second, tomorrow, name what you actually care about with genuine intensity. What makes you feel what sports fans describe feeling during a championship? If you cannot answer this quickly and specifically, the more pressing question is not about sports. It is about whether you have found your own equivalent, the passion that gives collective life meaning and that earns you a tribe worth having. The third, this week, find one community organized around what you actually care about. The answer to not belonging through sports is not isolation. It is different belonging. A group of people who share your specific obsession provides the tribal element that sports provides for others. The gap that costs most is not disinterest in sports. It is the absence of any replacement for what sports was providing to the people around you. The fourth, stop apologizing for your disinterest. When the conversation goes where you cannot follow, you owe no one a defense of your psychology. Redirect toward what you can actually offer, the depth, the specificity, the particular quality of thinking your mind produces. The right people will be curious about that. The others will return to the score. Both outcomes tell you something useful. The fifth, and the most important,
Take Fromm's question seriously. What are you doing with your individual freedom? The person who doesn't escape into collective sports identity has retained the full weight of individual self-construction. That weight is real. It demands something of you. The question is whether you are building something with it, something that generates the meaning, belonging, and collective feeling that every human being requires, or simply carrying it without direction and calling the heaviness independence. Sports is a mirror, not of the people who love it, of what every human being actually needs: belonging, shared emotion, the relief of collective meaning, the temporary and necessary surrender of individual burden into something larger than yourself. The person who gets none of this from sports has not escaped the need. They have simply been required to find it elsewhere. Whether they have found it or not, that is the only question that actually matters. Comment below what you care about with the intensity others feel about sports. The thing that is your equivalent. Name it for the first time without qualifying it. Like this video and subscribe to this channel for more powerful videos like this. See you in the next one.